Melanated family, this is your brother Harrison, man. We back for another rendition of the Melanated Convo podcast. And on the show today, I got my teammate, my brother, the one that comes in and just cleans everything up. You know what I mean? Now, I have to make sure I represent this brother correctly because he been doing this. You know what I mean? This is my brother Jermaine Morris. He's been in the radio, some form of radio for 25 plus years. He's a certified coach and consultant with a special practice in disc assessment. He want to know what's wrong with your ass. You know what I mean? He gonna help you know what's wrong with you. You know what I mean? Ain't that perfect? But today, and I'm crafting these topics based on him. Like I need his input on a lot of this stuff. So today, me and my brother Jermaine, we're gonna discuss generational curses. We're gonna discuss the generational curses that have came from the system. We're going to discuss the generational curses that we impose on our families, whether it be abuse, alcoholism, poverty, all of these things. We're going to get into it today. You feel me? So this is your brother Harrison again, Melanated Convo Podcast. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, do all those things. Follow me because we're going to keep this thing lit. So my brother Jermaine, when we talk about generational, when you think of, first thing I want to find out from you, when you think about generational curses in our community, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Honestly, I try to understand the perception of the person who says it. Because normally when I hear the phrase generational curses, my association is not always maybe what's being said. So if somebody says we got to work on these generational curses. Okay, so what are you talking about? Because I think you prefaced it great when you were saying some stuff is the system, some stuff is us, some stuff is, there's a difference between, the ripple effect from institutionalized practices that detrimentally hurt a group of people, like that ripple effect that goes down generationally, versus this is just what we do.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear the phrase generational curses, the first thing my whole big thing is I'm always about understanding. And even with my coaching and consulting, it's the premise is self-awareness without judgment. So I'm never starting with right, wrong, good or bad. What is? What are you talking about when you use the phrase?
Damn, that gives me perspective about you, bro. Because a lot of topics I bring up, I'll be like, I'm trying to get to it. And you're like, wait, back up. What you talking about?
If I'm speaking to so I already know what I think. So if I'm speaking to another person, I'm trying to understand what you think
first.
So if I have questions, I'm the person that asks 1,000,001 questions. Like I'm just trying to understand why. What are we talking about? So within our community, when we speak of generational curses, that can be economically, that can be behaviorally, that could be a family dynamic, that could be diet.
I was just thinking that because
there's things that we eat that we know, 2/3 of the family is obese, and of that, 80% of them have type 2 diabetes, and everybody's got this, that, and a third. And we're just saying, well, these eating habits are generational.
Damn, it's funny you say that, Jermaine, because I was going through a list of things thinking, okay, what do we do generationally that hurt us? And I was thinking sometimes I'll see a family where some of them are a little bigger, right? And I'll think to myself, ask a family member, like, damn, they're all kind of bigger people. What's the cause of that? They'll say, hey, we just big boned it or some shit like this. But in reality, it could be eating habits that started a couple generations before, right?
Yeah. There was a good episode of the Boondocks that came on, the old animated Boondocks. And they were talking about the movie Soul Food. And Huey, the son, he was just like, the movie where everybody would get around and eat every Sunday. And ultimately it led to Big Mama losing her leg and then dying. And the family's response was to come back together and eat the exact same food that killed Big Mama.
Yeah.
Like, so sometimes, when we say generational curses or generational trauma or things that go along our lineage, sometimes it's, sometimes it's not them, it's us. Sometimes.
See, I was looking through it, and the first thing I thought, of course, like all the systematic things that put us in certain positions, I'm like, yes, that's obvious. But I'm digging a little deeper, like, damn, if regardless of what the system did, in our home, I look at homes as like little small countries. Like you create the rules, the bylaws. This is your shit.
It's your own ecosystem.
Your own ecosystem. If you're in the house and the father communicates by yelling, meaning whenever he wants something from anybody in the house, he's yelling profanity. You're gonna pick that up, whether you want to or not. It seems like some of that's gonna be in you unless you kind of take a step back and take and look at it. But if it's in your home and you're a child, you're gonna pick it up too.
Yeah, typically when you go to your household, it's either or. So it's like everybody yelled and cursed. So either I yell and curse or I don't yell and curse at all.
I've seen
everybody eats badly. Either I eat badly or I don't eat any of that stuff.
Or I'm a vegan. Goddamn.
Yeah. Usually it's usually daddy was an alcoholic, so I'm an alcoholic, or I never touched a drop of liquor.
And that's exactly what people say. You say, why you don't drink? I used to watch my dad yell at my mom, and I ain't doing that shit.
Yeah. So a lot of people, it's polar. But in any event, that incident you're still directly tied to the incident one way or the other. So if you say I'm going to drink all the time or I'm never going to drink, the individual drinking in your household is still the base point for which either direction you go. So even to say that when you say generationally, you're still a part of the generational lineage. Like you didn't break off from the tree. You're just a different branch, but it's like centered in the same root. I'm never going to drink because all these people drink and I saw the results. So my choice to never drink is still directly tied to the generation before me.
And you know what, Jermaine, what do you think about this? I've seen people, excuse me, who hate how their parents conducted structure with them or finances. Like they can't stand it, but I watch them and they do the same shit their parents did.
Yeah. That's something I refer to as handlebar logic.
What you mean?
Handlebar logic. I'll tell you, I told the story. I don't know if I ever told it. So I always reference when I was a kid in the house that we lived on, like on our street. Every kid who started to ride a bike on our street rode into our mailbox. Like it was the mailbox. It was on a post. And it didn't matter how many houses down they were, whenever a kid learned how to start riding a bike, they all crashed into our mailbox. Like my father had re-nailed this mailbox down so many times, it was barely left sitting on the post. It had been hit so many times. And what would happen is that when kids would learn to start riding a bike, their parents would say, don't hit that mailbox. So once they start riding, their whole focus is the mailbox.
Not hitting.
So no matter where they were in the street, their brain is like, don't hit the mailbox, don't hit the mailbox, don't hit the mailbox. And they crash straight into the mailbox. So when you have people who are saying, man, I hated the way my dad did this, I hated the way my mom did this, and I am so fixated on what they did, my handlebars are directed towards the behavior that I keep focusing on. So even though I said the mailbox was the last thing that I wanted to hit, it is the only thing I'm focused on. And no matter where you were on the neighborhood, you end up crashing into that mailbox. And so you'll hear as adults, man, I never want to be like my dad, or I never want to do this like my mom. And you just like them because that's the focal point. That's where your handlebars are aimed at.
Damn. So that's a very, very good. So what does a person do? So if you see your dad was an alcoholic, it sounds like you're saying whatever you focus on,
where your focus goes, your energy flows.
Where your focus goes, your energy flows. So that's a catch-22 almost, because you want to, it seems like your focus goes sometimes towards things you want to prevent or something that scares you, or it kind of, you know what I mean? So how can you not focus on it? How can you not look at it and say, okay, I don't like what I was seeing, so I have to avoid it? It seems like, damn.
So the difference is, so say if your father Papa was a Rolling Stone. Say he was just out here running around different women all the time. And you're like, man, I don't ever want to do my woman like he did that. I don't want to cheat. I don't want to cheat. I don't want to cheat. That's your focus, is cheating. As opposed to, I'm going to love this woman as fully as I possibly can, in as many ways as I can, for as long as I can. What is your focus? Loving this woman. Focusing on this woman, being engaged and communicating with this woman, as opposed to cheating on this woman. Try not to cheat on this. Not trying to, like, your focus. What are you focused on? So and based upon your focus, your behavior will be in alignment with your focus.
Yeah, what you're telling yourself. Self-talk. I was reading about that. Yeah, what you tell yourself becomes a reality, positive or negative.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. You can just reframe that. Not, I don't want to be a drunk like my dad, but I'm going to do everything I can to live a healthy lifestyle.
So instead of, I don't want to be a drunk like my dad, I want to take care of myself. I want to work out every day. I want to go to the gym. I want to go for walks. I want to run marathons. I want to be this, and just focus on what you want to do. Like the best example I look at, have you ever been with somebody and they say, well, what do you want to eat for dinner? I don't want Chinese. I don't want Mexican.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, but you do realize that we're no step closer to eating, right?
I know someone just like that.
Like, you're telling me everything you don't want, but there's nothing in front of you that you do want. So instead of making the focus that you don't want chicken, I do want fish. Okay, so what are all the different types of fish you might want?
There we go.
How do you want the fish prepared? What is the style? Like, let's talk about what you do want and start working in that direction instead of making your whole focus what I don't want.
And you know what, Jermaine, you can do that. That needs to be done in life in general. Because you can approach several situations. It could be a job you need to apply for. It could be a business you're trying to start. The positive affirmation spin on everything, because that's what you're telling yourself. You can talk to people and say whatever the fuck you want to say. Yeah. What you're telling yourself is really what matters.
Yeah, because by the time you verbalize it to the world, you've already said it to yourself on repeat 10 million times to your brain. And so that's the voice that's always on repeat. What you tell yourself. So if you're living a type of life where you're constantly, I don't want to do this, I'm not going to be that, I don't want to be there, I don't want to be. Okay, so you've given yourself no information for what you do want. You're giving yourself no direction or fuel to go after what you do want. You're just telling you don't want to be. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. Okay, well then you have your energy is going towards a negative direction because you're saying no, don't, stop, can't, won't. It's the NT of that is not. So you're putting a blockade, you're putting a barrier for where you're trying to go, as opposed to can, will, must, do. This is the life I'm going to live. This is what I'm working towards. This is how I'm going to be. This is what I'm capable of. This is what I will accomplish. Like, that's where your energy is going to create the life you want, as opposed to spending your entire time about the life you don't want.
And I know people who actually think that's a positive way of approaching decisions, determining what I don't want first, looking at something and saying, nah, I don't like that. No, I don't like that. And there was a time where I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. Then I've been reading and I've been watching some videos by Jim Rome, and I'm like, wait a minute. That person's actually kind of negative, because you could take that same approach, but just point out what you do want. And then the people around who need to help you make a decision, or you're talking to, they know what direction to go in.
Yeah, there's a difference between playing to win versus playing not to lose. And so you've watched sports, you watch games where all of a sudden the team gets the ball 45 seconds before the end of the half, and you see them kneeling it out. You're like, wait, you got 45 seconds in a timeout. You're not going to try to go to length, at least get to a field goal? Well, I don't want to make sure we don't throw an interception. I want to make sure nobody gets hurt. I want to make sure.
That's negative.
You're playing not to lose. But you had a whole bunch of opportunities that you could have done something great, but instead you minimized it due to fear of what could go wrong, that you didn't do anything. And so if that's the focus, that to me is the same as if, like, when you go to the grocery store. I think I was talking to somebody about this the other day. You go to the grocery store and you're like, well, I need to get some food. All right, man, you go there and you're like, well, what do you want? Some chicken? Nah, I don't want any chicken. You're walking up and down the aisles with your cart. You want beans? Nah, I want beans. You want bread? I don't want bread. And you keep focusing on all the things you don't want. And after an hour in the grocery store, you're looking down at an empty shopping cart. Because all you said is what you don't want. At no point, you process of elimination, you've eliminated aisle by aisle all these things you don't want. But when you look down, you're staring at an empty cart.
And that also is, damn, this is deep, Jermaine. It almost speaks to like leadership as well, because if I have to direct people or this thing in a particular direction, one of the best ways I can do it is make a decision fucking quick and stick with it. But if I'm like, well, I don't like that one. Well, I don't know if that one's going to work. You may end up 30 minutes without making a decision yet.
Everything has its place. So I'm not want to paint a blanket statement overall. Some things require thought and deliberation.
Makes sense.
Other things don't. So, scheme of sports stuff. You ever hear about the best quarterbacks that have instant amnesia? They'll throw an interception and then get the right ball back and go right back to work like it didn't happen. Where somebody else will throw it and you might as well bench them because they're done for the day. Because that's going to be in their head all day long, worrying about making a mistake, worrying about going wrong. They're going to be useless for you for the rest of the night. So some things require, high stakes or low stakes, like making sure we have enough money so the baby can get surgery, high stakes. What are we having for lunch? Low stakes. Like, like perspective.
So got you. You deliberate over the surgery. The lunch, you just say, give me a sandwich.
And if it works out, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, make another decision and keep moving.
Makes sense. So every day people should be determining, and I was reading some about this, like the level of priority, like what we put at the beginning of the day when we start our day. What's the priority? These things, because sometimes you may think something you want to do, like you may have something in I want to do this, but that's not what you need to be doing. You need to put what's a priority at the top and kind of work yourself down the list, or you will find yourself not really doing nothing at all during the day.
Yeah, everybody talks about your purpose, but the big thing is, are you living on purpose?
Break that down.
So not necessarily I'm in alignment with my purpose and this and that. Are you living on purpose? Are you living intentionally, or is life just happening to you? Like, you may know my purpose is to get out and speak to the people. Like, I realize that's my purpose. But am I purposeful in the way I get up every day in that direction? So did I make it a point to get up at 6 a.m. to put together something that I wanted to present to the people in regard to what I wanted to communicate? Or if the opportunity presented myself, I said something? Like, or do you live on purpose? Do you get out of bed intentionally
seeking that to happen, or you just watching TV and get a phone call? Hey, you want to come talk? Well, I ain't doing that. Sure.
Most people, why do you work where you work? They was hiring, like, is this the field that you wanted to go into? No. Did you ever think about this field before the opportunity that day showed up? No. I just happened to be scrolling. They were hiring. I applied there. I work here. I never once thought about this as a career. I never decided this is the path I wanted to go on. I'm just here because I get a check.
Damn.
There's no intention.
Prime example of life happening to you.
Exactly. You get in a relationship with somebody. We just together. Like, we was around each other. We started hanging out, started sleeping together. Somebody's lease ran out. Now we live together, living together. Somebody get pregnant. Now we got kids. We just together. Nobody intentionally had a conversation about, this is this type of relationship I want. This is the dynamic in my relationship. I want to get married. I don't want to get married. How many children I want to have. These are my beliefs when it comes to child raising. These are the ideologies I want to instill. Talk about the generational aspect of it. Did you ever have a conversation with the person you created the next generation with, and how you wanted that next generation to be?
Damn. And it seems like it'd be a snowball effect, Jermaine. Like, if a person in one area of their lives allows life to just happen, it seems like it happens in every area.
The way you do anything is the way you do everything.
I heard that the other day and it shook my soul. Because I swear for a while I was of the belief that no, I'm gonna go hard here. Yeah, this kind of I'll take my time here.
It doesn't typically work. Are there some people who can compartmentalize? Yes. Do most? No.
You can't do that.
Most it's
safe just to go hard everywhere.
What they said, three most competitive people most people recognize was Kobe Bryant, Tiger Woods, and Michael Jordan. Said these are three people who everything was a competition.
Yep.
Like, just didn't even matter. He said people would sit across from Michael Jordan and he started drinking water, and you drink water, and all of a sudden it turned into a race that you didn't even know about.
And like, you not even realizing, maybe if he didn't do that, maybe if he said, I'm not going to be competitive right here, he wouldn't have been competitive enough anywhere.
Yeah. So creative people are typically creative all the time. To the same accord, people who lack boundaries everywhere.
Everywhere.
You know, undisciplined people are typically undisciplined everywhere.
God damn it, man.
It's like, if you don't have boundaries at your job, you probably don't have them with your mate. You probably don't have them with your family. Damn. If you're not disciplined in how you take care of yourself, then you're probably not disciplined with your money. You know what I mean? If you're not disciplined with it, you know what I mean? So are there exceptions, of course, but by and large, most people, you know.
Damn, this is, and some of this stuff, Jermaine, honestly, bro, I'm just learning. And it, when you hear something that you know you're kind of guilty of, it does something to you. And if you're trying to get better, you're gonna just eat that and try to make improvements from there. But I know a lot of people like talking about Black parents. I say a lot to myself, right? People think that if a young person, for instance, has a baby, a man, for instance, right? This is going to catapult him into maturity. Now he's going to get a job. Now he's going to work the hardest he can because there's a little life that he just brought. I realized, Jermaine, hell no. How hard did he work before the baby? How interested was he in getting a job before the baby? Excuse me. A baby's not going to change that. He's going to be the same dude, just with a baby.
So what can happen is that you can ignite coals that are already there. So when somebody is raised up a certain way, they may not be practicing those beliefs of discipline and being responsible and of duty. And then when the situation calls for it, they ignite those coals that are already down there. But there are some people who are asked upon to create something where the materials do not exist in that human.
Like they ain't got the tools.
There's no foundation of them where they've ever had to be accountable. There's no foundation where they've ever had to do these things. And then when it's all of a sudden called upon them, it's like, well, how come you're not? I was like, well, this goes into the intentionality. When you talk about people like having children, well, I thought he would step up or be a man or whatever. What part of him did he show you that was even in him?
Yeah.
Like at what point in time was that even a present behavior that you observed in him?
Yeah.
It was never there. Oh, okay.
This it speaks to a lot. And this, when we talk, everybody, we're talking about generational curses in the Black community, generational trauma, the things that happen in our families or our lives that we put on repeat. And this is important because, of course, at the beginning, we talked about the institutionalized things that put some of these things in motion, but now it's like it's on autopilot. Because when I look at, for instance, how we treat the parenting process, yes, all races have kids out of wedlock, but I'm just talking about us right now. Sometimes that shit is on autopilot. And like Jermaine was just saying, you don't realize that you didn't do the work internally yet. So you can't possibly love that kid the way you need to if you don't love yourself.
So let's separate those, because I wouldn't say you can't love the kid, but the idea of your ability to effectively raise, teach, and take care of that child may be in question.
There you go.
Your love may be there. Like, you may love your car, and this is for more men than women. You may love your car. If somebody keyed your car, you were ready to go to war for them. But if it broke down, you may have absolutely no idea how to fix this engine.
Perfect analogy, Jermaine.
Like, you love this car. Like, you named it. You dry it off with a diaper. Like you sit and talk. You got certain songs that you play when you waxing it in the garage. Like, you put the Anita Baker on. Everybody know, oh, he got there washing the car today. Like, you love this car. But if it's something that needs to be done to it, I don't have the skill set to do what's required for this thing that I love.
So like Tina said, what do love got to do with it?
Like, if the question was, so keep that right there. The question was never, do you love me? I believe, to the capacity in which you believe love is, you do. But for the relationship, the behaviors, the things that I need, you loving me to your capacity is irrelevant. What's love got to do with it? We are two people who should not be together. We are two people who are not equipped to raise to facilitate this family. We are two people who didn't have the conversation to get our finances in order, to get our ideologies and beliefs in alignment, to understand our value system in regards to ourselves, each other, and this relationship. Yes, we may love each other, but what love got to do with it when it comes to the functionality of this relationship and arrangement?
And then something I think that all of our people should take into consideration when they operate the way that you just mentioned, Jermaine, it causes a ripple effect on the rest of the family. So I remember when I was 17, about to have 2 kids at 17 years old, and I was making decisions, and my mom was butting in like, wait a minute, what you doing, boy? You need to save your money. My arrogant ass said, this ain't got nothing to do with you. This ain't gonna affect you or the family. She said, this is gonna affect all of us directly. And I couldn't get it. I'm like, no, this is my baby. I'm a man while I'm living with her.
In her house. About to bring these kids into her house. Talking about what this got to do with you.
Come on now.
Meanwhile, mama, can I get $50 real quick? Because the kid needs formula. But this ain't got nothing to do with you.
But this ain't got nothing to do with you. You see what I'm saying? So I've heard a lot of men in different aspects. Like personally on TV, they'll mention why they didn't do something that could have been irresponsible. And they said, man, I was thinking about my mom and how I would disappoint her.
Yeah.
I was thinking about how I would disappoint my dad. And that shit hit me because I ain't never had that. I ain't never thought like that. I'm like, damn, that's thinking about other people, being selfless, even when you're a younger person. This can benefit your future. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So removing the island that we are an island into ourselves and everything we do is just us. The connectivity of the tribe, we're all links in a chain. The ways that what I do affects all of us, that type of collective mentality curbs some of this. So we're talking about, so the question is, how do we break some of these things that are going on? Gross individuality is harmed us as a community in this country. I got mine and you get yours. I made a way. Good luck to the rest of y'all. I figured it out. Why didn't you? Removing the big me, little you mentality. Like I think of, I call it like big me, little you. When I figured something out, I did something, and now I could have been right next to you up until I figured it out. But now I'm up here and you down here. Like where we don't weaponize our decision making and or successes. Like where I'm going to say, I went to grow up in the same house you did. I went to the same school you did, but I figured out a way to be successful. Now I'm better than you because you haven't. I grew up in the same family. We had the same trauma, the same abuses. I got counseling. I went to therapy. Now I'm better than you because you didn't.
Wait, so tell everybody, how should you view, what's a healthy way to view that opposed to just being I?
So if you're in a situation to where if you found out a way to win, like we were in here struggling together, we all took different paths to try to figure this thing out. And I figured out a way to hit. Like I figured out a way that benefits. I mean, do what you want because you're an individual, but I did it this way and I'm seeing success. Do with that information as you want. Like I'm gonna give you the information and then you choose what you want to do with it. Not you're stupid because you didn't.
And that's a process you can take to help break generational curses.
Yeah.
I got through the door and seen all the parameters. Here you go. So when you come through the door, you will know. It ain't a competition. I don't got to shit on you because I just figured it out. Nobody else did. Because we see that. I know people who are very successful. They earned it. They got to where they got, but they're like, man, I hate my mom and them. I got to go back for Christmas and see all these motherfuckers. They're going to be asking me for money. They don't like that I'm successful. Just like you just said, that we all grew up together. We all had the same chances, but I decided to move out. I decided to see. I've heard that type of rhetoric, Jermaine.
Yeah. And so Now, granted, you have to take, some people will feel a certain kind of way if you are successful or better and they're still in their current situation. That's true. But starting with, you have no control over them. So control what you can control, and that's you as the individual. So if I know that I had to go to see a therapist for 5 years to get all my stuff right and to be good and be okay, and I think my family would benefit from it, all I would sit there and say is, this is what I did and I benefited from it. Not, I'm gonna beat you over the head with, why don't you go to therapy? You need counseling.
So I think what you're speaking to, Jermaine, is how you say shit. I'm trying to get better at this myself and the people around me. I'm saying, damn, that he could have took that a little better, but how you said it was shitty.
Yeah, what's the intention? Is it like, I'm telling this to you because I think it could benefit you. However, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like, if I'm simply saying, I'm not just hoarding the secrets. I'm not hoarding the information. I'm gonna make you aware of it, give you the options, let you know how I did it. I can't tell you how everybody else, but at least this is what worked for me. And if you like where I'm at, this is the path I took.
And
do with that if you want.
Yep. And if my intention is to really help you, my tone and my delivery will reflect that.
Yes.
If I'm tired of you asking me for shit and I just want to tell you how I did something, I'm gonna say it in a way where you may not be as receptive.
Or you have the honest conversation, transparency. Look, every time I come around, y'all asking me for something. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna show you how to get it the way I got it. If you do not take advantage of this opportunity, then you already know the answer if you're going to ask me for something next time you see me.
There we go.
There
we go.
And it's not, I'm not looking down on you because of your current situation. Here's a way that you can, like, this stuff can change. If you, this is where you need to be intentional. Are you trying to get better on purpose, or are you just waiting to hit a lick? You waiting for the stars to align for you to be in a better situation, or are you trying to get both hands on the wheel and intentionally change your situation? Now, I'm not judging either way you go. That's your life, and you're gonna have to live with however this plays out. But for what you're trying to involve me in, is asking me to give up of me for you. This is the way that I'm willing to do that. These are the boundaries that I've set. Here's the opportunities that I'll present to you, the information I'll present to you, because this is what I'm okay with, so we can still be okay.
So, Jermaine, what do we do, though, when we look at our family lineage?
Yeah.
What happens because what we're talking about is like being evolved in your thinking, like being aware of what you say, being aware of how you present things, and really leading with intentionality and love. What do we do when the grandmas, the great grandmas, like the grandpa, maybe the leaders of the family, quote unquote, don't see things this way? The leaders of the family don't know how to speak to each other. They haven't got to a point where they realize, because this is the thing, real quick. I've seen people where the generations of families are fucked up.
Yeah.
Like the grandma doing foul shit, her daughter doing it, now her daughter doing it. How I take it, what I would do if I'm the grandma, I'm empathetic because I know what I created and how I started things, created a trickle down effect where it's affected on my family. Sometimes older people use revisionist history where you forgot you fucked your kid over. Yeah, he's 39 and he has all his teeth and he has a job.
Yeah.
But when he was a kid, you didn't buy him shoes and you was on crack for a minute. You know what I mean?
This is back to the control what you can control. I can't control great grandma. So it's like how rivers work, where they come from a body of water. I'm not where the original body of water started. But as the river continues to come down, I can be a branch off to a new area. So I can't do anything about what's before me. I can just operate in a space of understanding, appreciation, and love. You're going to be who you're going to be. I can live the way that I live. And and that's it. But I don't have to continue after you. Because my family's from Alabama. Like we big people naturally. I've been a vegetarian for about 8 years. And there's a handful of us. I don't eat where my family comes from. Like the fried chicken, everything soaked in bacon juice, like grandma used to make. She used to keep the oil can on the stove. They had the chicken was fried in, the fish was fried in, everything. When she would make a pot of greens, there'd be ham hock, and she would just pour the grease straight into the greens. and cook all that stuff that all of us grew up on for generations, I don't eat anymore. I don't go around campaigning telling everybody else they need to be vegetarians. If I come around, I'm coming around to hang around them, but I'm typically not coming around to eat. So I still get to be me and they still get to be them. And then there's now, I got a couple of vegan cousins and a couple, like some folks is realizing some of the health stuff and they've changed. And some of the older people now are starting to get some of the same generational health concerns that everybody was having, breathing problems, overweight, heart stuff, diabetes, and everybody getting older now is starting to see like, okay, the way we've been doing it ain't working. So some of the older people have started to eat differently and eat better. But when you're talking about how do I change other people's behavior, you don't.
You can't. You just do what you can do, and hopefully others see it.
And you give information when I'm not one for unsolicited advice. So I don't walk around. You don't need to be eating. You still eating that?
I hate
you putting that? Did nobody? And they got a house fork full of pork. Talking about, yep. Like, did nobody ask you for the nutritional value of this pork chop?
It seemed like when people learn shit, they can't wait. Yeah. Somebody learned something, they lost 2 pounds. Now they become the police on this shit. You know what I mean?
If somebody says, "Oh, your skin looks clear," yes, because I drink a lot more water and I don't eat A, B, and C.
Yeah.
Oh, I like the returns of what you're doing. So I'm going to ask you about what you're doing, and I may integrate what you're doing. But I'm not coming around talking about, see, that's why you got all them pimples. See, that's why you got this and that. That's why you like big knee, little you. That's why you got
big knee, little you.
And think that they're going to be receptive. It doesn't work.
Nobody's receptive. And then they would be like, oh, here this motherfucker comes.
Yeah, like
this vegan shit.
I know people that's their views, like with mental health. And there is a slightly different dynamic between the men and women in our community. There's a lot of overlap, but some of the difference is that women more so than men use the same energy that women tell men to go to therapy is the same energy that they tell kids to go to their room.
Wait, explain that.
So typically, men who go to therapy don't really come to women saying, y'all need to get a therapist.
True.
Women who go to therapy, typically when they learn and see the differences and the benefits, they tell men that men need to go. But it's the same energy is because you're exhibiting this behavior, you need to go to therapy. It's the same energy as you're exhibiting this behavior, you need to go to your room. Mental health is seen as almost like a punishment. Or as a indictment on who they are, and it's not in the same space. It doesn't get received as this could be beneficial.
Opposed to you going to therapy as a woman and enjoying it and inviting him to come, or
even just speaking about why you like it. I used to be so confused in my head. I used to have this, and this. I'm at so at peace right now. What'd you do? I started doing yoga, and I see a therapist once a week.
Damn, I like that concept. Just
and leaving it alone. Like if somebody's going through something.
That's what I did. I don't have to tell you should go. Come with. I don't have to introduce it to you like that. You're an adult. All I gotta say is the benefits.
If you're interested. You'll ask questions if you're interested.
You'll ask questions if you're interested. Damn. That's a beautiful concept. And this is because I'm learning, man. This is communicating with people. It can be tricky. And sometimes you don't get the results you want. Because you on some bullshit. Like your approach matters. I'm realizing how I start the conversation because I'm real like asshole-ish and condescending at times, and then I get that back. You be like, "Hey, what you doing?" I'm like, "No, you came at me pretty foul, bro."
Yeah, there's in time and place, and everything is not a job interview, and like every conversation is not super structured, and like giving a dissertation and all that. But when we're talking to each other, and especially when we're talking like within our family, like. If we're talking about generational degrees of trauma or concerns or issues, we all went through something. So to take the standpoint of my pain is greater than yours, or I'm better than you because I got some help about it, that's it. You're not going to get the return you want.
That makes sense.
So how do we start breaking some of these things? When we start finding methods that work, or we start finding ways that we get healed, people will start to observe the difference. Like people ask, you don't come around as much, or when you come around, you don't drink with us on the curb like you used to, or you don't You know, you don't eat like we used to eat, or you don't do these things. Yeah, because I started doing this instead. I don't want to drink with you, or I don't want to smoke with you. I'd rather make sure I can get up to go to the gym in the morning. I would rather make sure I can sleep easier by not having a bunch of heavy food on me tonight. I'm talking about what I do want. I'm talking about the things I introduced that are beneficial. I'm not coming around you to tell you all the things that you do that I don't like. If I'm talking to you about why I'm not doing something, it's because I'm talking about the things that I do like in my life that I want to continue.
Damn, it reminds me of the phrase, like this phrase holds more credence with me now. It's like, be the change you want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Don't tell motherfuckers about the change. Just be it.
Yeah.
If you be it, they'll observe.
And you don't have to walk around campaigning. Like, I don't have to sit around and tell you, I went to church today. I don't have to around and tell you, I didn't cheat on my wife tonight. I don't have to go around and tell you, I ate a salad for dinner. Like, I don't have to go around and do. What will happen? People will see you and your wife smiling, holding hands, walking, staring into each other's eyes like you did that first year. Man, what y'all got going on? Like,
there you go.
Y'all just affectionate, soft-spoken, always touch barrier. Someone's always touching their hand. You done smacked her butt. She done rubbed your head. Like, it's all this affection. What did you do? Well, we started doing this, this, and this. They'll ask questions if they're interested.
It seems like sometimes, Jermaine, people are so happy when they've discovered something.
Yes.
So happy when they started moving, and they could be an hour two of this new discovery. And what I've learned, sometimes when you put the shit out there in the universe too quick, you wasn't ready to do that yet.
Intentions. What is the reason you got to tell everybody?
Yeah.
What's driving your reason to shit? Well, I'm just excited. I just want everybody to know about CrossFit, and everybody should be doing CrossFit. Just when you do it and you love it and your body changes and you're getting in better shape, people are going to ask you what you're doing.
People are going to ask you what you're
all
doing.
Of a sudden, you done dropped 20 pounds. You got visible abs. You done leaned out, shoulders back. You look good in your clothes. Good. Mm-hmm. People are going to ask you what you're doing. Mm-hmm. What program you on? Where you go? Where you work out at? And then you can tell them all about CrossFit.
Then you could tell them all.
But you don't have to tell them after your first session. You have to run out and start doing commercials after your first session.
You went out and bought some new clothes. You got a goddamn Spanx.
The logo on your outfit. Yeah, just if they're interested, they'll ask.
And then I think people don't realize what this does if you present something to people and you haven't fully grasped it yet. So you haven't given it time. So you done with it now. And it's 3 weeks go by. They say, hey, what's up with that CrossFit? Well, they was charging too much over there at the gym. So I decided
now. I'm over, I'm on Pilates now. It's about Pilates. Just like I said, and that's fine. You may do Pilates for 2 weeks, then jump over to hot yoga. Do hot yoga, then jump over to running. You do whatever works for you. I'm just saying, and when people ask you, when they ask you, not all the unsolicited stuff, when people ask you, then you can tell them all the different stuff you changed on. Mm-hmm. I just think that when it comes to making like the generational changes, if you're somebody who has made some shifts, like you come from a bunch of people who are not good with money and you're the first one to figure it out, and so everybody's asking you for money. Okay, if you want to ask me for money, it comes with me showing you how I made it, or how to save it, or how to use it.
So do you think it's, so I have cousins and brothers and mom, dad. I found a way. I'm making a lot of money now. Is it my responsibility to tell them?
Is it your responsibility? It is as much your responsibility to do that as it is to give them money. So if you think it is, it is. If you think it's not, it's not.
Makes sense. Because again, like you're saying, I'm learning. Because again, you don't really have to tell them. Damn, his car's
you really don't have to give them money either. So if you feel a responsibility to give them money, then you have the same responsibility to show them how to get it themselves. Unless you're willing to deal with them continue, like I said, teach a man to fish. If you give him a fish, he eats the day. Teach him to fish, he eats a lifetime. If you're saying, I just want to give you the fish so you go away today, you can guarantee he'll be back.
So I'm thinking about something now. So if we want to create a Black society, Jermaine, where all of us who are successful sees the importance of not passing the information down to the next generation, are we saying that them just doing the act is inspirational enough. So if they go out and change their lives and do positive things and become great, I don't have to come back and talk to you about it. You seen me doing it, and if you have questions, you'll ask.
So are we talking about people we know, or
in general?
So if I grow up in a neighborhood, they're talking about coming back, giving back. So if I grow up in a neighborhood and I figure out a way to be successful, and people can see me on TV, they can see me, whatever. So they now know in their head, someone from here went on to be successful. If they don't have access to me, then I would say you don't require to, but I would personally come back if these are not people who have access to me. If these are people who do, like these are my siblings, like they can pick up the phone and call me whenever they want. And they don't ask for help or ask for information, then in my mind, they shouldn't be asking for money or an opportunity.
Right.
So an opportunity without the information or money without the information, and then the application of the information means you're going to keep coming back. And if that's not a dynamic I'm okay with, because some people are, if that's not a dynamic that I personally want to do, then it's like, no, okay, let me show you how to get this yourself. Show you how to duplicate the process. Show you how to do these things. And if you're not interested, fine. But then, like I said, you know the answer if you call me looking for money.
And I've seen a lot of strife be created based on that way of thinking, because I've seen people who say, here's how to do it. I showed you how to do it. I gave you a little bit of money to start it. You said you was going to start it. It never happened. Now here we are at Christmas, and you asked me for $1,500, and I told you what it was going to be. But now you mad at me. Now you trying to fight me. Now you talking about all my goddamn childhood secrets.
I'm a firm believer in boundaries. I love them to death. So to that accord, are there people who are that way? Yes. You then make it control what you can control. You, individual. I can't control how somebody else is going to feel about something. I can only say, look, I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to tolerate this. I'm willing to deal with this or not. These are my lines in the sand. So, and if you want to feel a certain kind of way about me from the other side of the fence, go right ahead.
I think it's good to put it in perspective like that, because look, Jermaine, what if you have a couple family members who took this approach? They asked for game, you gave them game. Now they want more money. Now they mad at you. I think if you approach it the wrong way, it may sour you to everybody. But you got another cousin who took heave, right? But you have to be clear and not take it personally and compartmentalize it so you don't take it out on the cousin who actually wanted help.
Yes, because let's be real, when we're talking about generational curses, resentment is generational, passive aggressive is generational, being petty is generational, grudge holding is generational, all these sorts of things, to where when you don't say what you really feel, what you don't address what's really bothering you, and then you just like, well, I ain't gonna say nothing, I'm not gonna do nothing, but I'm a feel a kind of way. We pass those traits down too. And people don't have those direct conversations, and people don't get to the root of what's going on so it can be cleaned out. It's like when you have a root canal on your teeth. You got to drill through the hard tooth, through all that mess. It's painful, it's loud, it's aggressive, and then you get down to the infection, and it can be dirty and grimy and smelly and all that. But once you finally get in and clean it out, it can heal. And there's a lot of us that generationally, we don't want to go through the root canal.
Ooh, we don't want to go through the root canal. We don't want to go through the hard part.
Surface level of grudge holding, resentful, passive aggressive. Well, I ain't going to deal with them. I ain't going to talk to them. I'm not going to do this and that. It is not even like, okay, I'm drawing a line in the sand. I'm not going to deal with them because of their behavior. It's, I'm not going to call them, but when I see them, I'm going to smile like we cool. It's not going to be when I see them, we're going to talk about why I haven't called you back. It's going to be, oh no, everything's fine. And then once they leave the room, you're going to talk about them.
Makes sense.
And then when you do this, like
it makes sense, because you got a problem with somebody.
You got a problem with them, but you're not addressing the problem.
You don't have it in you right now to address it, because you're going to smile and then talk shit. And God damn, Jermaine, I see that all too often. Yeah. And it seems like that when I see that, I'll be thinking, the problem you have with them must not be that big, or you must know it's more you, or it's something going on in you. Because if so, wouldn't you just be able to say, hey, This is my problem. This is how you made me feel. Let's move on. It seemed like when you're harboring some stuff that maybe you haven't done for yourself, it makes it difficult to talk to somebody that, you know.
It can't. Some people are just non-confrontational. Just at nature, they just don't want the root canal. They don't want to go through that process. Some people like to just, you weigh it out. It ain't worth it. Like, I know how she gonna get. I know how he gonna get. You gonna bring it up. They're gonna act a fool. They're gonna start crying. They're gonna want to fight you. Like, they just maybe like, I'm out of here in 2 hours anyway. I'll see y'all on Christmas. Like, you just maybe like, I just don't even want to deal with it. I don't see him 2-3 times a year anyway. So I'm just going to suck it up, get through this meal, and then go my separate ways. There's a bunch of reasons. But the thing is that the generational part about all these secrets and unresolved problems and underlying beefs and passive aggressive attempts to make jabs at people and judge people and all that sort of stuff, that gets passed down generationally. Like diabetes, like brown eyes, like big feet. It all gets passed down the same.
And all gets passed down the same. Damn.
So if you're something that you want to break within our community, our personal ecosystem, like I said, it's being aware, intentional about the life you want to live, how you want to be, being an example of that as opposed to on campaign about it. Understanding if people are interested, they'll ask you, and if they don't, leave them alone. And if you figure out a way that works, not judging them for still being where they were just because you figured out something that's working differently. You're not better than them because you were broke right alongside them and you figured out a way to get money. They're not dumb or lazy for not reaching where you are. They are where they are. And if the intention is to help them out, then the intention with love. If the intention is to put them down, then you'll do it with judgment. So, but you can break some of these things. You start with yourself. You start with yourself.
And that's what I was figuring, Jermaine, when it all comes down to it, it starts with yourself. And I think just for me personally, just learning about those things, looking at the lineage of your family, if everybody's drinking, if everybody's smoking, if there's no fathers around, like there's a way to like diagnose these things without being hateful towards your family or disliking them, but just having an understanding that, don't judge them, but I have to make a change. And if you don't judge them, when you start making that change, you'll still come around. You won't see it as I ain't going around y'all. Or when you start making that change, you ain't finna come around on your high horse.
Yeah.
Like, why? Oh, you still ain't got a job? Haha, this food still ain't. People don't. We do a lot of harm to each other in like a jokingly way, and I'm beginning to learn that. I'm trying to be more intentional with how I approach people because words are powerful.
Yeah. That big me, little you complex is huge.
It is.
You know, people can't hear you when they think you're judging them.
People can't hear you. And that's something. So this is big in our community, y'all. Everything that we go through in our families. I know on my show, we talk a lot about how systematically things have taken place, but we have a say-so. Like personal, and every day I'm learning more and more personal accountability is kind of the key of all this. And then you can learn history and you can learn your family's history, all of it in an attempt to kind of avoid the things that have happened, but you have to do it with love and honesty because your mom could have. Because I hear people say this a lot, Jermaine, because my mom been gone for like 20 years now. But I hear people say, well, hey, when I was young, I had these issues with my mother or my father. Now that I'm older and I talk to them, I see that they was dealing with substance abuse. I see that they had maybe some mental health issues they were dealing with. So I humanize them opposed to putting them on this pedestal, and that can help all of us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. A lot of times we forget, like, you know, when you start thinking about, okay, what year were you? What age were you when you had all these beef with your mom? I was 12. Okay, well, how much older is your mom than you? She was 20. Okay, so how was the 32-year-old you living? Because I remember still seeing you coming out the club. I still remember seeing you with a drink in your two-step. So don't act like you figured out this. You was on this, you know, just straight and narrow at 32, not still out here, you know, doing it for the gram or whatever else is happening. And we're just, because I think that's a good point. We think of mom and dad as mom and dad, as opposed to John.
No, that's Cheryl and Johnny.
Exactly. And then when you do the history on Cheryl and Johnny, you're like, wow.
She did what at the club?
They're
She
the,
fought
they're the
who?
sons and daughters of Rufus and and Kathleen, and they the sons are like, oh man, man, your Uncle
Yeah, because
Clarence?
then
Yeah. Like,
you would get to talking to somebody. You be like, yeah, my mom was kind of, she was off the hook, and then my grandma, she used to shoot at my grandpa, and you be like, damn, that's why you kind of crazy.
you remember your father is working construction, but all of a sudden you get to talk to, yeah, man, I remember when I went to jail with your daddy. Wait a minute, he went to jail? Like, just, like we forget they are a whole human being before they were our parents.
They had a whole life. They had a whole life.
So that's the removing the judgment. Without judgment. There wasn't a way you were supposed to be. There wasn't like, it's just what is. What are we working with? What are we talking about? What's in front of us? Removing the should. I would say should land is a highly populated place with a bunch of miserable people. We're all talking about what I should have got, or how I should have lived, or who I should have married, or how much I should have made, or how big my house should have been. Should land is highly populated with miserable people.
Real talk.
Talking about what they didn't get or what they felt they deserved. So removing that judgment component, understanding ourselves, and then just living the life you want as opposed to the handlebar logic of being focused on the life you don't want.
Focus on the life you don't want, and being as proactive as possible. Yeah. Quit making excuses. It's the man, that job was tripping. Nate's talking about I was only back from my break 17 minutes. It was just 3 minutes, tripping off 3 minutes. These white folks. I'm like,
The only difference between an explanation and an excuse is the spelling.
Wait.
Let me run that back for the people in the back of the room. The only difference between an explanation and an excuse is the spelling.
Woo!
You did it or you didn't.
Because you
were there or you weren't.
Because
it happened or it didn't.
Jermaine, because I hear explanations in every time, even when I do it. I'm like, damn, that sounds like an excuse.
I'm not saying one is better or worse than the other. You can say an excuse has got real world justifications into it for why something wasn't accomplished. You can say that an explanation is just a wordy way to try to remove accountability from something that did or did not happen. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm saying the only difference between the two is the spelling. So you're supposed to pick me up at the airport at 1:00 and you did not. Whether you give me an explanation or an excuse, I'm standing at baggage claim by myself.
And it doesn't help the person. Damn, Jermaine. Because they both feel the same way. Hey, if you're on the other end of it, an excuse and an explanation feels the same. I've been out here in the rain for 30 minutes. I don't give a shit what you had to do. I've been out here in the rain for 30 minutes.
I do, but I'm still out here in the rain. Like I said, like I'm not saying an explanation is better than an excuse or an excuse is better than an explanation. I'm just saying you did or you didn't. It was Monday. It was 1:00. It was $500. If it was not Monday, 1:00, $500. If it's an explanation or it's an excuse, I didn't have my $500 at 1:00 on Monday. But I digress.
That's real talk right there. That's real talk. And that should lead people to being kind of a person that says, like, no, I have to get it done. That should put pressure on you, because that goddamn, that makes so much sense, because I've had reasons why I can't show up somewhere for my kid, for my woman, for my partner. But the look on their face was the same.
Yeah.
The look on their face was the same. Whether I didn't call them at all, or I called and said, hey, I'm running a little bit late. I'll be there 22 minutes, man. This traffic is killing me. How they took it was the same. So, yeah, real shit, Jermaine. Damn. Everybody, this is my brother Jermaine Morris, man. This is why I bring him on the show, man. We're going to break it down. We're going to simplify your life for you while you're fucking up and blaming on everybody. It's the white man. It's my mama. It's I'm on parole. I'm on probation. But you letting life happen to you. And if you do it with one thing, you're going to do it with everything else. Yeah. So this is your brother Harrison, the Melanated Convo podcast. I'm happy to be back, man. I got my brother Jermaine Morris on the show. This is great. Jermaine, we gotta keep them informed, man. We gotta make sure we looking in the inside. Yeah, the white man's out there, but you inside of you too. You should be more scared of the motherfucker inside of you.
Yeah. You're more likely to do more damage to yourself than he is.
You're more likely to.
You're more likely to mess your own life up than have it messed up for you.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. So this is the Melanated Convo Podcast. My brother Jermaine, tell everybody how they can get in contact with you, bro.
If you have any questions or anything at all about like the coaching stuff, the DISC assessment, which is basically just a test that kind of shows how we make decisions, how we deal with problems, how we communicate. The test itself comes with a 20-page report of the individual. So they say human beings don't come with the owner's manual. This basically becomes yours. It shows potential blind spots in behavior, most and least effective ways to communicate. All that sort of stuff comes in the report. If you have any questions on that, you can go to MyKeysToMe, MyKeystome, MyKeysToMe.com, and you can get more information and set up a free 15-minute consultation. I can walk you through the process and get you started if you like. And then all social media platforms are at JMorrisCEO.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this has been another episode of the Melanated Convo Podcast. Man, I love having these conversations. Somebody gonna learn. If it's just one person, if it's 5 people, if it's 2 people, we got to change the perspective of our people, man. Some of this shit ain't gonna change. Like the historical stuff, I love it, and I'm gonna keep learning about these things. But what we look at in politics and some of the ways that racism works and all that, some of that shit not gonna change. But you can change you, like tomorrow. That's for sure. You can change yourself tomorrow. So this is your brother Harrison, Melanated Convo Podcast, Jermaine Morris. Find me on Instagram at Melanated Convo 100. I'm always sharing how I feel about shit. If you don't like it, I don't really care. You know what I mean? That's my platform, and I'm going to continue to speak for my people. We out.